Welcome back to Headstart. For our next guest this morning, we speak to a leader in social impact innovation. For over a decade now, ARC Solves has been enabling farmers, fisher folk, and local communities to solve hunger for good through creating a sustainable food source in just months. And straight from New York City, we're now joined by the CEO and co-founder of ARC Solves, Ayesha, Vera. Ayesha, welcome back to the Philippines.
Thank you, Karen. I'm so excited. Maraming salamat. Thank you for this.
All right. Now, give us an idea first. What exactly is ARC Solves? Anong ginagawa niyo sa Pilipinas?
So, simply, we're solving hunger for good with farmers and fisher folks. And totoo yun. The way we go about solving with them is together. Right? And the reason why farmers and fisher folks, nauna kami doon mag-solve ng gutom, dahil, I don't know, I just find it so wrong na yung mga taong nagpapakain sa atin are struggling to feed their own families. And so we wanted to start at the root of it, right? And say, sa kahirapan, sa kagutuman, it's so painful, it brings a lot of shame. I want us to start with the people who are feeding us. And I have to tell you, Karen, like, we are so, you know, sinabi mo kanina, we've been around for over a decade. Tama yun. You know, I got into it because I got into farming. So before that, I was an investment banker.
If you want water, please, you can pause and drink.
So,
go.
Parang katulad sa'yo, I too need a lozenge.
No, it's because it's so early in the morning. But go on.
So, when I fell into this because in 2006, well, I was still an investment banker.
Yes, you were actually the youngest director, and you can correct me, of BNP
Paribas.
Yeah. So in New York.
Yes.
You were an investment banker in New York. Okay.
So I was in New York, and I was the youngest one. I would lead cross-border deals, multi-billion-dollar deals for the bank. And in 2006, my mom came to me, and ang sabi niya, you know, your cousin, shout out to all my cousins, your cousin is selling their part of the farm. And sabi ng mom ko, can you buy it out? And I said, okay, I'll buy it out, only if we make changes. Because the things, you know, ang issue sa farming, it's structural, right? It's yung sharecropping, it doesn't work. Lulong sa utang ang mga farmers, and then the people who own the land, they can't get the rent back anyway.
So you thought about this when you were in New York first. Okay, well, so it started you bought out a farm.
Yeah, it started out me just buying out my cousin's stake. Okay. And then that's what got me to the rural areas ng Pilipinas. And this
where was the farm?
Capiz.
Okay.
And of course I brought my, I guess, all of the skills I learned from biochemistry, from investment banking, and you know, I was there every year. Right. Thank you. I'll have the water.
Go ahead.
I was there every year.
Go ahead. You drink first. So you were there every year, but you were still working as an investment banker.
So it was 2006 pa nun, and it was at the height of M&A, and I was an M&A banker. I was an acquisition and leverage finance banker. But there was something here that drew me. You know, this notion of like, how do we fix a broken system? Right? But of course, I had no notion of like how to do that until I went into farming itself and realized how hard it is. Like you know, it's stacked against our farmers. Okay, lalo na yung ngayon. Una-una, you know, since the 70s, they have been oriented to buy chemical inputs. Right? Ang mahal-mahal ng chemical inputs, right? Those chemical inputs are traded in the global markets in US dollars. Right? And those are byproducts of crude oil. And so kung tumaas ang presyo ng crude oil, tataas rin yung presyo niyan. So imagine if you're a farmer, all of those inputs are imported into your village. Pero ang revenue mo, ang sales mo para sa rice or corn, nakapako na. Right?
So you're saying, okay, go on.
So doon pa lang, may disadvantage na yung ating mga farmers and fisher folks, right? Simula muna tayo sa farmers. So ang taas-taas ng presyo na kailangan nilang bilhin for the inputs, when there's inflation, it goes up. The war in Ukraine, that spiked all of the the prices of synthetic fertilizers and pesticides.
Yeah.
Triple.
Oo.
And I remember that, yes, nagsimula itong feedback, which is our proven food security solution at
Yeah.
the height of the pandemic. But nung nagsimula yung gera, all of the farmers, they came to us. Rice farmers to, Karen,
Yeah.
na sabi nila, we can't farm.
No,
It's too expensive.
So let's go back first. So when you bought out the stake in your cousin's farm,
Yeah.
you came to the Philippines
Yes.
with your
Biochemistry and investment banking.
Investment banking you started. So what system did you introduce?
Got it. So the first one is I broke the system of sharecropping. Kasi hindi siya, it doesn't work. It's the farmers are the ones that have to borrow money to buy the inputs, and then on top of that, they have to also pay rent sa landlord. Eh kung magkabagyo,
Oo.
wala na.
Okay.
Wala na.
Oo.
So I thought
So
that
what did
system
you
was
do?
wrong. So in the farm itself, we basically bought back all of the leases, and then we extinguished all the debt. We said, let's start anew. And then we hired them as employees of the corporation. I know corporation sounds big, it's small, but they got a salary. Every day they worked, and on top of that, they have a revenue share of the harvest, and all of their food came in the farm, and their kids got scholarships. And they too got scholarships. So that was our way of changing the system. That was also my entry into understanding the systemic issues that yung mga kapitbahay ko, my fellow farmers are dealing with. And I have, yes, this is going to be, it's going to sound like nagyayabang ako. I have 2 degrees. I've worked in, the most complex capital markets, sophisticated capital markets. But I have to tell you, you cannot have, maski sino man, there's no one brilliant person that can solve themselves out of a systemic problem. We have to do it together.
Yeah.
Right? And and the way to do it together is, una, this is the insight that we brought into ARC and we brought into feedback is, the first insight is all of our farmers, all of our fisher folks, they're hardworking. Now, if you tell them, here's seeds, right? You would think that, they'll plant it. It's not the case.
Yeah.
They're hardworking, and every single day, because they're only earning like, magkano ba? Wala pa nga 250, sometimes 300 pesos a day. Wala pa yun, ang taas nun. When we partnered with farmers, they're earning like, 150 pesos, 200 pesos a day. You can't survive on that with a family of 7. Hindi kaya yan. And so every single day, they have to look for income to feed their family that day.
Okay.
So kung bibigyan mo sila ng seeds, they're like, what am I going to do with this? Kailangan ko maghanap trabaho.
So let's go back to the process.
Yeah.
In the Philippines, land reform.
Yeah.
Land reform was a very supposedly life-changing law for farmers. It was meant to empower them.
Yeah.
But clearly you did the opposite.
Yeah.
You bought the leases back, and in fact you bought the land back.
Well, it wasn't that big of a land.
Yeah. But
so it was
do you feel that after being on the ground, do you feel that the land reform program in the Philippines is wrong?
I think the land reform program, first of all, I think it is, I think there should be a distribution of land. There should be. Because people need to feel secure where they live. Most farmers don't own their land. That already creates insecurity. Pangalawa, they put their heart and soul into it. And so if they're going to put their heart and soul into a land that they're going to develop to feed all of us, they should own that land. Right?
Yeah.
And so the leases that I was talking about is, my mom has 8 other brothers and sisters, and each one had 1.5 hectares. Right? So hindi malaki. But they were walang, sa kahirapan ng farming, none of my aunts and uncles wanted to farm. So nirenta nila to others. And so that's the leases that we bought back.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what
however,
system works?
So
what did you see? What's a good system in the Philippines
right
today?
now, because it's very hard to affect the land reform change dito sa Pilipinas, because land is mahirap sabihin sa tao na you should redistribute your land, right? And so what we did sa feedback and what I learned is, if you create a market and tell farmers, okay, in 6 weeks, there's going to be a vegetable exchange, right?
Okay.
In this exchange, you can take home your fair share. hating kapatid na sa iyo of over 20 kinds of vegetables
Yeah.
that your neighbors, mga kapitbahay mo, will bring to the exchange. Right? You can do that in 6 weeks. And all you have to do is bring 3 kinds of vegetables galing sa backyard mo, and it has to be organic, no chemicals.
Okay.
That's it. And that market invitation, that pseudo market invitation, that's enough to get them developing their backyards. It's enough for farmers to say, okay, may punto. Now I'm going to develop my backyard. And it's also enough, it's so powerful that even fisher folks who've never farmed before,
Yes.
they literally create backyards in their maliliit na mga backyard na container gardening, vertical gardening. Ang gagaling nila.
So give me an example. Other than your own piece of property, give me an example of an area where ARC Solves thrive.
Okay, so I have to be clear. ARC Solves actually is not in the barangay that my family's property is. So
but where
it's
does it thrive?
So currently we have 101 communities throughout the Philippines in 9 provinces that graduated from the program now.
Fantastic. Okay, so give me an example.
And examples of that.
So one barangay.
One barangay.
Let's say eto ko, may bangay ako, tinuruan ako ng ARC Solves magtanim.
Yes.
So ano yung nakatanim sa backyard ko, for example?
So we,
ano ba? Lettuce? What? Tell me. What do they plant? What do they plant? So when give me an average mother.
Yes. So before, bago mo marinig, Karen, about ARC Solves, or bago mo marinig yung feedback na programa, ARC first partners with municipalities, with mayors. Because when we bring the program, talaga, the aim of it is to bring it to the municipality so that way the municipality can offer it to kung sino man barangay kapitan na gustong mag-solve ng kanilang food security from their community.
Okay.
And ang idea doon is they're solving yung gutom sa community, they're solving malnutrition, they're creating income, and they're creating new industry because that barangay and that municipality ends up producing the food, the produce for the region.
All right. Okay.
So kailangan pagpunta namin sa isang probinsya, may investment talaga yung mayor, may investment yung barangay. Doon lang kami pupunta. Doon lang. Kapag wala silang investment, di kami pupunta.
Okay, so give me one successful municipality.
Oh my gosh.
Just
ang
one.
dami.
Name one.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, name one.
I'll give you La Libertad. That's in Negros Oriental.
Okay, so Negros Oriental.
Yeah,
let's talk about that.
Yeah.
So feedback, it's actually the program, right? So it's not feedback, my feedback to you. It's feedback, meaning pakainin mo yung kapitbahay mo. Feedback. So this is a 16-week program on a wide vegetable community exchange. So let's talk about it, simplify it to the viewers. So eto na, the municipality is in. So 16 weeks ang program. What do you teach in the 16 weeks?
So in the 16 weeks, the first thing that we do is, una-una, we make sure that the barangays, yung mga kapitan and the whole village council, una-una, they're united. Because they literally have to do this on a volunteer basis.
Okay.
Ang top pa to ng kanilang mga trabaho. And then they divide the community, yung barangay mismo, and talagang door-to-door invitation to all of the families.
Okay.
And so we guide them on how to do that. We guide them on how to implement the program because they implement the program for day one. Hindi ang ARC. We come up with a solution that we co-created with the communities nung pilot.
So why 16 weeks?
Why 16 weeks? Because you need to get the behavior change to take root.
Okay.
So the first 6 weeks of that, yan yung chansa that's the time for the kapitans and the kagawads to go invite families to be part of the program. They distribute seeds, they invite them to play shops, kung sino mang gusto matuto ng composting, kung sino matutong on how to plant things.
Tinuturuan, may training.
May training.
Oh, fantastic.
And it's also the time that the families are developing their gardens. And yung punto mo ng training, what I also love about feedback is it literally integrates everyone na nandun na sa municipality. It brings in the MAU, it brings in the treasurer, it brings in the DENR on their environmental officers. So it literally enables both at the municipality level, at the barangay level, for the government officials to work together.
Yeah.
And no duplicative, hindi kami nagdadala ng iba pang asset. We're saying, no, you're the agricultural officer. You know how to do this. Let's agree on what we're gonna share with the community. And then sila na nagtatrain ng bawat kagawad, and then each kagawad trains at every purok level.
So,
so 6 weeks of 6 weeks of growing, and then 10 weeks of exchange.
Ayun, 6 weeks of growing, 10 weeks of exchange. So how many families are we talking about? Like
in an average barangay, it's about 300 to 350 families.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but we also have partners na, oh my gosh, dito kakatapos ng Sabantayan. One community had 700 families.
Okay, let's talk about first.
Yeah.
So let's say 350 families join. I'm one family.
Yes.
Do you say, ikaw magtanim ka ng kalamansi, eggplant, yung kabila, sila yung lettuce, para pag nag-exchange, iba-iba?
So this is the other thing that that we do sa ARC. We trust our partners, and we tell them, plant what you love to eat. And we also trust nature. So ito na yung biology and chemistry. Kasi yung gusto mo is gonna be different sa gusto ko. And so if we have a neighborhood, lahat tayo will be planting something different. And so that's why yung exchange, on average, there's over 30 to 40 varieties of vegetables that gets exchanged in a feedback exchange.
And nothing is sold?
Nothing is sold.
Oo, so kumbaga, walang gutom.
Walang gutom.
May lahat kayo may pagkain.
Yes, lahat. And what you bring sa exchange, Karen, and what I bring sa exchange, talagang hating kapatid. So, gagawin ng mga managers that are hired by the village council, no? Gagawin nila when you bring your lettuce.
Lettuce.
So let's say you bring your lettuce.
What if ang nadala kong lettuce 20 kilos? Ganun ba? Ganun ba
that's
usually?
so awesome. So mangyayari niyan is una-una the managers are gonna record kung ano yung dinala mo. They're going to record the weight, the value, and may kapalit ka pa. They give you a raffle ticket for every 50 pesos worth that you bring in. So that raffle ticket is the second structure ng feedback, right? The first one is it's market focused. The second one is ito na yung beginning ng behavior change. We create fairness. Kasi katulad itong week, maybe you have more lettuce harvest. Baka yung aking okra napakaliit lang. But if you contribute all of that, you get so many more raffle tickets than I do. So walang samaan ng loob.
So ano yung nasa raffle ticket?
Oh my God, it's all types of prices. It could be tabo, it could be like plates, it could be rice, it could be like grocery.
And this is funded by ARC Solves?
No, this is funded by the LGU.
Really?
Yes, and the barangay. So the barangay,
nag-incentive sila?
Yeah, so the barangay pays for the salaries ng manager, yung raffle prices, the communications, the telecommunications, all of the four key things that actually will enable them to implement the program locally, right? Ang municipality naman ang nagpo-fund ng seeds, ang nagko-contribute ng mga resources katulad ng MAO, yung mga sila rin yung nagko-contribute ng funds to enable the barangay kapitans to go to our learning journeys. May capacity build journey kami, and then there's a midpoint journey where all of the kapitans learn from each other and take discartes back to their community. And then how we help is, one, we created the solution. Pangalawa, we help the communities implement the solution. We're like guides and consultants. And the champions naman who partner with us, they're the ones who enable us to go to the new province, to go to a new area to bring the solution, right? So that's how we partner with diyan yung 50-50 partnership na nangyayari.
Yeah.
And
so technically, what did ARC Solves do? You trained, you introduced the program. So
we designed the program, right? We customize it based on different structural issues na makita mo sa isang lugar. Fishing communities have different structural issues than farming communities. Ngayon, for example, there's a lot of interest na dalhin yung programa sa Sorsogon. We now have to analyze Sorsogon. We have to analyze, what elements of the program do we have to customize.
So you met the Senate President?
Not yet.
Okay.
And then we help guide, we do the capacity building to make sure na alam, na confident yung mga leaders to execute the program on their own. And then we do weekly check-ins to make sure that they're tracking towards their goals. And then we do impact tracking, which the barangays, you wouldn't believe this, they learn Excel by doing feedback.
Fantastic.
And then, okay, that's a shout out to Microsoft. We should partner again.
Yeah.
And then they really value the impact tracking. So as soon as they send us the data of ito yung attendance, these are the families that came, this is the vegetables that were contributed, this is the kilos, that's the value. We do the analysis and we give it back to them within 48 hours. They use that to help, to help them change their descartes, their strategy, so that they can get to their goal. And their goals, they're very specific and clear about it. Their goals are, we want to solve the gutom, we want all of the families to be healthy, we want to eliminate malnutrition, and we want families to have new income. So by 16 weeks, they achieve it. So talagang like, alam mo, barangays and the families in the barangays, many of them build edifices for ARC. We don't pay for it. Ako yung co-founder, I have no branding in my home.
Yeah.
But they have huge ARK signs in their barangay. And it's because they're so proud of what they've achieved. Na sila yung nag-solve ng kanilang gutom. And then, not only did they do that, na natanggal yung pain, natanggal yung kahirapan, they've brought the community together. There's nourishment and there's community, and then people now have a positive outlook that kung
and
ano
they're
ang
not
mangyari.
helpless.
They're not helpless.
Yeah.
Actually, I want to share this one story galing kay Mayor Malu from Isabela. Grabe, last year, nung aming wave 10, tinamaan sila ng 5 typhoons. Within that 16 weeks, 5 typhoons. Any other community would have given up. I probably would have given up. Pero sabi niya, alam mo, Ayesha, I am so happy I invested for a second time, sa feedback and got more barangays to do it. She had 7 barangays that she invested in to do feedback. The second time, the first time, 2 years ago, was 4. Sabi niya, because if not for feedback, I probably would have to do a relief. Because of feedback, may pagkain yung pamilya. Before the typhoon, may pagkain yung pamilya. After the typhoon, walang humingi ng tulong.
That's fantastic for all over the Philippines.
Yes!
Yes.
Diba? I mean, nakakataas balihibo because the mayor was like, oh my God, isa yung pinaka mahirap na isolvar ng mayor at ng mga kapitan. And they lose sleep over that, right?
Yeah.
And then tayo rin, us, of course, we all want to help. All of us are generous. Like, yung mga corporations and federations, of course they want to help too. But the issue is, we cannot help everyone.
Yeah.
And the typhoons and the climate issues are getting stronger. What we have to do is enable communities to create their own food source, to enable them to solve the issues on their own and to get them the tools and the resources they need so they can be resilient. Kahit anumang bagyo, the entire communities lift. And that's what we are doing.
Okay. Ayesha, where did you get the design of the program? Is this a best practice in other countries we don't know about?
No! We created it here.
Really?
This is an innovation from the Philippines, from the probinsya, in collaboration with farmers and fisher folks and ang ating mga magagaling na mga leaders. So, I'm so proud na dito galing yan. It's our innovation. And it's an innovation that other people in other parts of the world wanted. Right now, there are communities sa Sierra Leone na atat na for our playbook.
Wow.
So we actually created a playbook 2 years ago, and the goal of the playbook is so that kahit sino mang community na gustong mag-solve ng kanilang gutom, na kanilang malnourishment, na gustong gumawa ng bagong income stream, that kaya nilang gawin yon without ARC, without anyone.
Yeah.
Right? Or kung hindi, wala man silang signal, which happens dito sa Pilipinas, ang dami mga islas, mga islets na you cannot reach.
Yeah.
But if our playbook can get to them, whether ma-download nila sa YouTube, ma-download nila sa, sa online, or whether they can get a hard copy from their mayor, then they could do it on their own.
And I think what I like about the system of ARC is it's so easy to tell people just plant on your own and exchange, but it doesn't work that way. You actually need a system in place. There should be a discipline. Okay, I need to plant this. It's not just for my family, but it's also because I'm going to exchange and feed a neighbor.
Yes.
Yun ang nagbago.
Yes.
We are
And
feeding each other.
Exactly. So collective exchange siya talaga. Hindi yung tigi-isa tayo nagbabarter. Talagang pag pumunta tayo ng exchange, makikita mo piles of eggplant, piles of okra, of like sitaw, of
Wow.
lettuce. And then, the managers are gonna count, ilan tayo pumunta dito? Ilan tayo dito sa studio? Okay, i-divide natin yan equally. So, literally families during the exchange are literally going home with between 5 to 8 kilos worth of excess food. Excess na yan, ha?
Galing.
Kasi kung ano yung dinala nila sa
ayan yun.
exchange.
We're showing, We're
Yeah,
showing now.
that.
These are samples. That's
So,
what they take home.
Yeah, and yung excess na yan, because yung una nilang hinarvest, kinain na nila. And then, of course, the exchange only happens once a week in every purok, in every barangay for 10 weeks. So, every day, meron silang excess, nagbebenta na yan sila on their own. So, this is really a sign of love and generosity that all of the families are gifting to each other.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so sticky. Because at the end of the day, we want to be seen. We want fairness in our lives. We want fun, right?
Yeah.
The exchange is so much fun. Sabi ng mga kapitans at ng mga pamilya, it's more fun than kanilang fiesta. And lastly, everyone feels loved and embraced. Kasi katulad itong weekend, I just spoke to kay Ma'am Teresa sa Bantayan. Ma'am Teresa, I hope you're watching this. Sabi niya, na one of the things she really loves about feedback is nakikita niya mga kaibigan niya. At she doesn't feel alone. And she feels really good when she can give her excess, and that she feels really loved when her kapitbahays are gifting her their excess.
Yeah. Yeah.
At hating kapatid talaga.
What's interesting is considering that you were an investment banker, it started off with a farm, but you didn't have to give up your job, but you did, right? So the question is, what was the aha moment that suddenly you said, "Oh wow, I don't want to earn that much money anymore"? I mean, what happened there, right?
Karen, I have to be honest, I miss that money.
Yeah.
I miss that money.
So you miss that money, yeah.
But I don't miss it in my life, though. I mean,
why is that? Tell me about that.
Because we only have one life, right? And, you know, it was unfortunate enough that, I don't know if it's fortunate or unfortunate, pero in my early 20s, I lost 10 family members. And so one of the things, in just one decade, over 10 family members on both sides of the family. So,
and it's not COVID.
It's not COVID.
Yeah.
But thank you. You make me feel young.
Yeah. Okay, but yeah.
And so at that time, imagine sa banko is like, you know, when you work in a bank, para ka na you work in a casino. It's like there's no windows, you know?
Yeah.
Like everyone is like focused on the deal and like the next deal.
Yes.
But because I had that in my life, it happened to me. I promised myself that for every death that I will honor their life by making sure that I have purpose in my life. And that what I'm working on is something that I feel good about, you know? And that it's something that can make a dent towards what's wrong sa ating kabuhayan, what's painful sa ating kabuhayan. And I would rather put my efforts there, my time there, just to make that change for the next generation. Marami ng, you know, in banking, who do I make money for? Rich people.
Yeah.
You know, rich corporations, they're already rich. They don't need my help. I would rather, kung ano man yung aking talento, I would rather put it in an effort that transforms lives and that really minimizes the pain, right? There's so many problems sa mundo. You know, by working hand in hand with my partners, with the farmers and the fisher folks, together we have come up with a solution that works.
But when you have 10 family members who passed away,
Yeah.
was that the tipping point?
I think that was what kind of got me, that gave me like a really good sense of mortality and like just perspective on life.
Yeah.
But I think the tipping point came in 2009 when, if you remember, right, there was the financial crisis. Was like, I mean, I mean, it was kind of like an implosion within the financial community. And that was the time when Jerry and I founded ARC. So, nandun ako sa Capiz at that time, and our food security solution at that time was school-based. It was and still is the only self-sustaining lunch program in the world that parents pay for day one, and they fully fund on their own after 3 years. and all of the food comes from the parents and the community, right? And that program really wowed me because in the first week alone, it made attendance go from 70 to over 90%.
Wow.
Within 2 months, malnutrition was gone.
That's amazing.
And it was done because the community invested in themselves, and we were just co-investors, you know. And talagang
where was this again?
Sa Capiz was the first one.
Oo.
And so that was the tipping point when I saw that, wow, there is actually a way for us to solve hard things if we just do it together.
Yeah.
And so the bank wanted me back in 2010, and they said, okay, we're going to give you managing director position, senior management path, everything you want. They were like, wag ka magno. We'll even allow you 4 days of work, and 1 day you could do your project, right? And that was when nagno ako, because I said, you know, I only have one life to live, and time is finite, energy you have to replenish. And if I stayed at the bank, it wouldn't grow, right? It would really just remain a project. We wouldn't get to this point where now 101 communities are food secure.
Yeah.
They're inspiring the barangays, families in their areas to also be food secure. Now we have the proven and tested solution that governments, international agencies, and other countries want. And we actually have a solution to a complex problem that actually works.
Okay, so how can kids become like you? I think that's the big question here. How do you pass on that kind of passion, vision, mission?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's courage. What you did when the bank offered you back, gave you what you wanted. And let's face it, New York is a very expensive place to live.
Expensive.
And you still live there. She does't live here, right? So you're like,
so
wow.
You know, for young people, I feel like the younger people now are more ahead than us young people. And I think the younger people actually are a little bit, they're ahead of us in that they're already thinking about their purpose.
Yeah.
I'm like inspired about that.
Yeah.
And I think the next question for them is, how do you focus? How do you prioritize? How do you say, at this moment, this is what I want to learn, because in 2 to 3 years, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So keep that purpose is what I would tell them, because nandun na eh, right? We don't need to inspire them with that. It's now how do we focus them? And you're a big champion. You champion and mentor so many younger people. So I feel like now it's like, how do we hold, how do we do this hand in hand together? How do we share our wisdom? How do we guide them?
Yeah.
And then sa kanila naman is how they replenish us.
Okay.
Right?
So before we go, we don't have enough time, but to everybody watching, this is the website of ARC Solves, Solve Hunger in 5 weeks. So I don't know, Direk, if you can show this, because there's an invest button, which means that you can actually invest. So it's called invest and not donate, right? So you can actually take part in ARC Solves. Congratulations.
Maraming salamat.
Ayesha,
Thank you.
My gosh, it's an honor to have you here. Really,
Well, it's
really.
my honor.
Absolute
Thank
honor.
you.
So thank you so much. That was ARC Solves CEO and co-founder, Ayesha Vera Yu. That's Headstart today, everybody. Thank you for watching. Stay informed and stay with ANC.